Uh, what else have I been playing recently? Well, given the name of this video, I'd say that's a pretty an open shut case. For any of you who are aware of Team Ico's productions, you can pretty much put 2 and 2 together and come out with 7 if you're a console tard. Oh, don't worry, I'm not trying to distance myself from the peasantry this time, because in this case, I also reached the conclusion that 2 and 2 is 7 when I bought the Ico and Shadow of Colossus HD pack for the PlayStation 3 with the intention of playing Shadow of the Colossus, and I wasn't really after Ico, it just got thrown into the pack, and I ended up playing the exact opposite game I thought I was going to play. Then again, I've heard that this is a good game and one of the better games originally for the PlayStation 2 that wasn't a horror game, believe it or not. So enough already, what's this game actually like? Really? You're asking me that? Because I was under the impression that most people have either played it, or at least know something about this game to some degree. The only reason I'm doing this video is because I'm late to the mother-loving party. Ico gets you playing as Ico, a Japanese boy who gets sent to an ancient castle to be sacrificed because he was horny, but just before he gets sacrificed, he manages to escape by leaning to the left a little and breaks free from his prison. Almost immediately after this, Ico discovers Yorda, a mysterious white girl. That's white in that she pretty much shines light from her prepubescent tits and not in the sense that she's racial white, despite being racial white. After freeing Yorda, who can't speak a f***ing word of Japanese so the game can translate it for me, it becomes apparent that a shadowy force is trying to capture Yorda for whatever reason. Now Ico must escort Yorda out of the castle by solving several puzzles and fighting off the occasional shadow, as well as avoiding the grumpy mother-in-law, who wants Yorda back so that she can eat her, or something. I wasn't really listening at that part. Now that the plot has been established, let me crush your spirits by describing the core mechanics of this game. This is one big escorting mission. Now before you violently vomit up what you ate for lunch, let me say one thing. Despite escort missions being about as enjoyable as jamming your face under a train, this game actually manages to pull it off. And that's rare. Most escort missions will f*** you over by getting you to handhold a character through the level, where your escort character has the physical constitution of a Ryvita, and where you'll be forced to go back and forth through the level, trying to make progress through the game, but constantly having to go back so you can then pick up and carry this character to the end. Players don't like it when they have to carry out any form of hand-holding. It makes it feel like the escort is just baggage. Very heavy baggage. But in Ico, it's not quite like that. In Ico, you are required to handhold a character through the level, where Yorda has the physical constitution of Ryvita, and where you'll be constantly going back and forth. Oh. Well, alright, even when looking at it properly, Ico is just another escort mission. But here's where Ico differs from all the other games. Yorda does what she's told. I found this game is a whole lot more enjoyable if you just imagine that Yorda was a dog. You give her a command and she does it. You tell her to stay, she stays. You tell her to follow, she follows. She's quite responsive for a character that you have to carry around. And you know what? She's alright in my books, because she can't speak the local language, meaning that you're not constantly receiving her unwanted opinions on absolutely f***ing everything. Ico, on the other hand, is not a great character in my books, and there's only one reason for that. Though he clearly has feelings for Yorda, he has no time for her, and this is evident every time he takes her hand. I had to control myself from bursting out laughing when I first took Yorda's hand, because Ico drags her and throws her around like she's a hammer, and Ico is trying out for the Olympics. I was gutted when I finally came round to play Shadow of the Colossus, when I didn't see Ico running past Argo, dragging the half-decayed corpse of Yorda behind him and yelling at her to hurry up. Tell you what though fellas, if you want to know the secret of picking up girls, then this is it. Find someone who doesn't speak your language, then take her by the hands and run in the other direction so hard that her arm snaps off. And if her mum shows up to tell you off, then just attack her, in the off chance that she's evil. But putting Yorda to the side, or like I did in this game, leaving her in a locked room and f***ing off for a bit, let's look at the actual gameplay for a minute. The gameplay can be divided into puzzles and combat. The puzzles, I have to say, are pretty decent. They're challenging, especially in the second half of the game, in that you'll have to carefully plan what you're going to do and how you'll actually pull it off, but not too difficult that you won't be able to figure them out for yourself. I have heard complaints about one puzzle where you have to blow up a part of a structure with bombs, but I just picked one up and threw it at the wooden tower, and that seemed to work. I finished the game, so I guess that means I had the right idea. At times the puzzles remind me of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, except without the time manipulation. In fact, the setting of this game also reminds me of Prince of Persia, but I guess that's a good thing, seeing as that game was good. And to be honest, so is Ico. Can't believe I just said that, seeing as this series is entitled Rant. Well, I guess that's taken the wind out of my sails. Guess that's the end of the video. Stop right there, True, says Ico. You've completely forgotten about the combat. Oh yeah, that's right, there's a combat system in here. Shame that it's 6 duck. sucks dick. This could be my only complaints from this game. The combat fucking pisses me off. I suppose that it works, and there's definitely far worse examples of combat systems out there compared to this, but here it just feels cheap. Occasionally some shadow will appear to take Yorda down some shadow hole, or could be a manhole, or an arsehole, it's one of them, and you'll have to fight them off with a stick. Yeah, a fucking stick to start with, but then later on you'll get a sword, which is definitely more desirable than a fucking stick. Now every time a fight begins, you can bet that there'll be between 2 and 3 holes that the shadows will take Yorda to, and you can also bet that she'll get taken to the one that's furthest away from you. I've heard that having the fight right next to a hole helps, but trust me, it doesn't. Despite being right next to one, if Yorda gets captured, she'll get taken to the other side of the map, meaning that you better run as quickly as you have been when dragging Yorda around and pull her out. I found that the best strategy was either to go to the middle of the map, or just back yourself into a corner, because then no one will come at you from behind. Now I don't ever recall Aiko dying from too many hits from these shadows, but you can get knocked down, and it takes Aiko ages to get back up. All the while, Yorda has been abducted by one of the shadows, and is on her way to the shadow hole. So while Aiko is rolling all over the floor, yelling at how much that last attack hurt his knee, Yorda is about to be removed from this plane of existence, and Aiko just doesn't seem to care, until someone comes along with a physio sponge to make it all better. It's shit like this that makes it hard for me to like Aiko as a character. He's there just to get Yorda out of the castle, but even then he makes a big deal out of it. Even his own backstory is dropped the second you reach the castle. He was going to be sacrificed, but at no point does anyone come back to the castle to start the ceremony, only to find out that he's gone. The game just throws some girl at you and asks you to tend to her every wish. Well fuck her, I just want to get out. Now that I think of it, maybe Aiko had the right idea. Yorda is just there to drag me down, but I guess she's gonna have to come with us now. No, why don't we just drop her off a cliff and then run off into the sunset? Because that's not the rules, says the game. Now fight her mum. Oh, that boss battle was hard. No, I mean really, it was about as hard as opening a door. Actually, it'd be like trying to open a door, but every time you put the key in, the door spits out going, nope, I'll only let you open me when you've tried 4 times already. So to win this fight, you go up to her, hit her with your sword, then your sword gets thrown to somewhere else in the room, then you go pick it up. Rinse and repeat about 3 times, and you have won the game. I would have thought that the mother would have clued on to the fact that her attacks weren't working on me whilst I was holding the sword after the first time, but she just keeps going like, well, the last thing he'd expect is the same attack that I used before, and all attacks before that. Also, the ending was annoying. Remember back to my binary domain rant? No? Oh no, so you're telling me that I just advertised one of my own videos on YouTube? Never. Well, if you do, then you can guess the sort of ending that we'll be getting here. If you didn't watch that video, then just imagine what the ending would be like if it was up to Hollywood. Basically, it's all fine, everything gets sorted out, it's all fine, it's all fine. Especially with the post-credits cutscene being a personal kick to the bollocks, when the most predictable and everything is so happy and lovely ending gets smeared in our faces right before cutting to a black screen. In conclusion, I liked Aiko enough to talk about some good points during this video, but not enough to see where everyone was coming from when they said that it's one of the best games for the PlayStation 2. Well, seeing as I now have a PS2 emulator, then I'll be the judge of that, with all the games on there being horrors. Okay, maybe now I see why Aiko's probably one of the best PS2 games, aside from the horror collection. But I'd still play this over anything that the next gen has shat out. What would you rather play? A game as a Roman soldier, tarted up in lovely graphics, whilst all the gameplay is left back on the developer's planning shelf, or a game where you get to run around an ancient castle, aggressively dragging around a Labrador with energy coming out of its tits.
This life is killing me. I swear sometimes I think this life is killing me.